Hey everybody, Chase here with the SimMemphis 767 project. Just want to give you guys a little update about some things I've been working on. Many of you probably know that the 767 is based in FSX using the Level D 767 software. And one of the things that I've kind of always wanted to do is to move everything out of FSX and into X-Plane 11 and use the Flight Factor 7.5 and 7.6 softwares. But I've had some issues, primarily with hardware. For example, my CDU, which is the in-gravity CDU version 1, doesn't have any out-of-the-box compatibility with X-Plane 11 and Flight Factor, and neither does my MCP, which is the old Aerosoft MCP 747. Both of these units work pretty much right out of the box with the Level D product, but have no compatibility with the Flight Factor 7.5, 7.6, or X-Plane. So that was kind of where I was stuck. Everything else, there's pretty much a solution. In fact, I've been working with MobiFlight to figure out the best kind of way to transition over. But until these hardware issues were solved with the CDU and the MCP, I just wasn't willing to do it because replacing them with the unit that is compatible would be expensive. I've been getting more and more OEM components that I want to integrate, and so I'm not really interested in buying, spending money on something that is just going to get replaced again later. So I was left with the dilemma of how to get these pieces of hardware interfaced with X-Plane. And after a little bit of research, I came across this plugin called xPlane. And that's an open source plugin that can see all the data refs in X-Plane, including the custom ones, and then broadcast them over UDP to your program. There is a client-side open source software called xPlane Net. And this is a library for C# and .NET framework stuff that allows you to communicate with xPlane. So now I had everything I need. Both of these pieces of hardware communicate over a serial port, so that wasn't a problem to interface using C# and .NET. What I've been working on is a program that can blend everything together, right? So I've got my CDU and my MCP talking over a serial port, and I can get the data refs I need from X-Plane through xPlane and read them into my program thanks to xPlane Net, and then do what I need to do with the data, send it to the CDU, or take a command from the CDU and send it to X-Plane, or do the same thing with the MCP. So what I'd like to show you is my software that I've been working on called xHardware Connect, and give you a little demonstration. So here we are, loaded into X-Plane 11 in the Flight Factor 757-200, just at some random gate at Memphis here. As you can see, we are cold and dark, and this is not currently connected. It is plugged in, but it's not connected to do anything. And then here's our MCP that is not hooked up to anything yet. I mean, it's plugged into the computer, but it's not interfaced yet. So it's all working though. If we go now to our xHardware Connect, then you can see that we've got Flight Factor 7.5, 7.6. Eventually I may add more profiles to that. But for now, that's the one that I really care about. It works with both airplanes because they had the same data refs. And so now we'll come over here and say connect to X-Plane. So now we're getting the data from the sim, but we're not doing anything with it yet. So now I have to tell it which COM port everything is on. So in my case, the CDU is utilizing COM port 4. So we'll hit connect. And then that brings up the splash screen here, and then it goes off because, as you can tell, there is no power to the CDU, right? We'll do the same thing with the MCP. Mine's on COM port 3. We'll connect. It should say connected successfully. All the screens blacked out because they're all blacked out here. In the 7.6, where it's a digital readout, the blank screens would be more accurate. So now if we power up, let's get some ground power hooked in here. So now you'll see with the ground power going, we've got CDU is active and our MCP is alive. And so, as a demonstration, we'll take this, which is 100, and that says 100 in the game. Let's scroll it up to 115, and we see 115 there. If we back it down to 110, come here, 110. Same thing, works with the altitude. I can scroll up. I'm scrolling up on the physical MCP, which is working fine. And if I scroll in the simulator, that works too. So that's all interfaced. The blanking works properly. Right now, I only support the captain side CDU, but the plan is to eventually add support for the first officer side CDU. Just as I press buttons on here, we get the data sent to our physical unit. Go to initial reference, it works. Departure arrivals. And there's some issues where, like, you know, this should be centered up, but that just takes a little more fine tuning to correct. So it's really not a big deal, but we can get to all the pages. I've optimized it so that it doesn't rewrite a line on the CDU unless it absolutely has to. So if the line is exactly the same, say it's blank or has one of these lines across the bottom, it won't redraw that if it can just leave it. So there are some optimizations. So also if you change a value, it only updates that line with the value that you've changed. So I'd say it's working pretty well. So there we go. Now we can use the flight factor 7.5 or 7.6 with our MCP and CDU. So hopefully this means that before too long, we'll be able to make the move completely over to X-Plane with the 767 project. So I hope you enjoyed this, and if you're interested in the software, feel free to reach out, go to our website, contact me, chase@simmemphis.com, and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.